with Daryl, it takes some getting used to playing for Daryl. He came in at the end of the year a couple of years ago, and we thought he would have a more positive impact, I think, in that right away.
Yeah.
And it didn't turn out that way, to the point where we were a little bit skeptical last year going in, wondering, is this relationship going to work, or are we going to have to blow things up and make a bunch of changes?
They're basically 500 when he came in, and there were some underlying numbers that were good, but they were just 500. It wasn't like, geez, he unlocked these guys.
Yeah. And then they go on and they dominate last year. They have a great season, regular season, maybe faltered a little bit in the playoffs, albeit against a good Edmonton Oilers team. But the question I'm trying to get to is, you brought in a bunch of new guys again this year. Is it possible? I think they've underachieved hugely, and there's been friction, and you said that's fine, and I agree with you. There's always your whole team is never happy with the coach. But is there, you believe, an opportunity or a chance that if they left things the same, that the guys like Huberdeau and Kadri and all the new guys, they come back, they know what's going to be asked of them next year in training camp. They understand how Daryl pushes buttons. Can they have a better response to it next year with Daryl still at the helm?
I would answer yes, Rhett, and for this reason, because you just touched when he came in halfway through that season, it took them some getting used to. And your term about getting used to Daryl will push. And he pushes buttons, and you know that very well. You've been there. You've been part of that. I think one of the things, Tkachuk leaves, Goodrow leaves. I think one of the players that they really, really miss is Eric Branson. And not so much Eric was a good player there, but Eric was also a strong voice. And Rhett, in a dressing room, sometimes the coach comes in and he's absolutely right what he's saying, and players just go, listen to him, he's right. And there's other times when a player has to tell the coach, hey, back off, we got this in here, whatever it is. And so you got new players trying to acclimate to a new situation. You got other players that might not be as comfortable with their voices. You've lost voices, and I think that impacts the team as well. And that leads to some of the friction, some of the uncertainty. And that's where I think you got to sit down and, really talk about, okay, what do we like? What don't we like? What could we do better? What types of moves could we make? And I'm not talking about firing coaches but do we need a different type of player? What type of voices could we have that could support these players? I think that's because there's no way Daryl hasn't become a bad coach. It's just that the situation now, and maybe how he's handling it, Daryl's a bright guy. And to look at it and say, hey, here's what I got to do. Here's what I got to do a little bit differently. I mean, I remember when he went into LA, he hadn't coached in a while, and he got that team right on track. Last year, we talked about what he did with the Flames. So, but it's got to be understanding, okay, where did we fall short? What's my responsibility, and what can we do to make sure we don't get into this spot? Because I think they have the talent. I really do. I think they have the talent.